There's a strange kind of death that happens long before we stop breathing. It's the slow fading of our name from conversations, the silence that follows our absence. It's when the world continues laughing, moving, building, and we realize it doesn't pause for us. That quiet realization that we can disappear without the earth noticing is what truly haunts us. We'd call it loneliness, but maybe it's something deeper, the fear of being forgotten. He used to stand by the window every morning, not to watch the sunrise, but to watch life move on without him. His name was Eli, a man who once filled rooms with laughter, who once had people waiting on his call, who once mattered loudly. Now the laughter lived only in memory, in faint echoes trapped in old phone videos, and half-broken picture frames. The world outside his window was still alive. Cars rushed, children argued, vendors shouted, but none of it seemed to need him anymore. He used to be a teacher, not the kind who just taught subjects, but the kind who made people believe. Students once wrote him letters years after graduation. They said, "You changed my life," but with time those letters stopped coming. Those who once saw him as light had found their own suns to orbit. And as the years folded into each other, Eli began to feel like a photograph left too long in the sun. Edges fading, color thinning, memory dissolving. He tried to reach out once, a call, a visit, a text, but the world, now consumed by its own survival, only offered quick replies and polite distance. One evening he sat on his porch, holding a cup of cold tea. He stared into the distance, not at the sky, but at the spaces where people used to be. And under his breath, almost like a confession, he whispered, "Will anyone remember I was here?" That question, "Will anyone remember I was here?" lives inside all of us, buried beneath our daily noise. It is the silent architect behind our need to achieve, to post, to share, to prove, because deep down we're terrified that we might leave this world unnoticed, that our laughter, our kindness, our dreams will dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Psychologists call it existential validation, the human need to know that our lives made a mark, that we mattered to someone, somewhere. But this isn't vanity. It's survival, emotional survival. From the moment we're born, our identity depends on connection. A child's sense of existence begins with being seen, a mother's gaze, a father's voice, a touch that says you are here. When that attention fades, even as adults, we start to question our own reality. We start asking, if no one sees me, do I still exist in the same way? This fear, though quiet, guides so much of what we do. It's why we chase recognition. It's why we try to leave something behind, art, children, memories, work, something that says I was here once, and I mattered. But the truth is cruel and tender at once. Everyone is forgotten, eventually. Even the great names carved in stone will one day be dust. The songs we hum now will fade from memory. The pictures we post will outlive their meaning. And yet, knowing this doesn't stop the ache. You've probably felt it too, that small sting when you realize people have moved on, when old friends stop calling, when someone you loved deeply no longer remembers the small things that once defined you. There's an emptiness in realizing that the world you built in your heart was not shared equally, that someone else's chapter closed while you're still rereading the pages. Maybe you scrolled through your own old photos once, not to admire them, but to remember what it felt like to be seen, to feel like you mattered to someone. We all crave permanence in an impermanent world. That's why we take pictures, not of what we see, but of what we're afraid to lose. That's why we keep old conversations, even when they've gone silent. That's why we replay memories like songs, hoping to keep their warmth alive a little longer. But here's the paradox. The more we try to preserve ourselves in others' memories, the less we truly live in the present. We trade moments for monuments. We forget that remembrance is not the same as connection. What we actually fear is not being forgotten by others. It's forgetting ourselves in the process of trying to be remembered. When Eli whispered that question, "Will anyone remember I was here?" he wasn't just asking about memory. He was mourning the slow erasure of identity that comes when life no longer reflects you back. We all go through versions of this. When our careers slow down, when people stop needing our advice, when someone else takes our place in a story we once belonged to. It feels like fading, not dying, but dissolving. But perhaps the truth isn't as tragic as it feels. Maybe being forgotten isn't the enemy. Maybe it's part of the great mercy of life, because to be forgotten means others have healed. It means the world continues, and maybe that's what we're here for. To play our part, leave our warmth, and let the world breathe again without us. Memory is not immortality. It's gratitude, brief and sacred, and maybe that's enough. Still, we can't help but wonder, what remains of us when everyone who knew us is gone? Is there a trace that stays? A vibration in the universe, a whisper in the wind? Something that carries our essence beyond memory? Philosophers say identity is not what people remember about us, but what we remember about ourselves. It's the quiet moments we lived truthfully, even when no one was watching. It's the love we gave, even when it wasn't returned. It's the small kindnesses that vanished without applause, but shifted something invisible in the world. So maybe being forgotten by others doesn't mean we didn't matter. Maybe we exist most vividly in the moments that were never recorded. The smiles, the comfort, the silent acts of grace that made someone's day a little lighter. The truth is, we all live twice. Once in the world's memory and once in our own quiet conscience. And while the world's memory fades, the second one, the one we carry in our spirit, lingers in ways we can't explain. A year after Eli passed away, a young man visited his old classroom. He stood there quietly, running his hands along the dusty desks, the faint chalk marks still visible on the board. He placed a small piece of paper on the teacher's desk. On it were 6 simple words. "Thank you for believing in me." No one saw it. No one filmed it. No one would post it. But in that small act, Eli lived again, not in fame, not in memory, but in impact. That's the kind of remembrance that doesn't fade, not because it's loud, but because it's real. Maybe the point was never to be remembered by everyone, but to be felt by someone. To have existed in a way that touched even a single soul deeply enough to change their path. Maybe immortality isn't living forever. It's living meaningfully, even if briefly. The fear of being forgotten will always whisper in the corners of our minds, but perhaps we can answer it with gentleness, by remembering that our worth isn't measured in who remembers us, but in how truthfully we lived while we were here. In the end, we are all echoes. And echoes, though they fade, prove that something once made a sound. If this stirred something inside you, if you've ever felt that quiet fear of fading, step through the gateway. Subscribe not for answers, but for reflections like this. And share this with someone who might need the reminder that even if the world forgets, the soul never does.